Nana. Hey, girl. Nico, eat your food.
On the morning of May 22nd, 2024, in a quiet residential neighborhood in Dayton, Ohio, a 32-year-old pregnant mother of 7 children was shot and killed inside her own home. And she wasn't alone. Sleeping in that same house was a 16-year-old boy. He never woke up. The man who pulled the trigger was not a stranger. He was the father of her children. He had hurt her before. He had been to prison before. He had been released before. And on his 32nd birthday, the very same day he was born, he decided that if he couldn't have her anymore, nobody would. This is a story of Precious Taste, Deontay Johnson, and the man named Nico, who the justice system gave chance after chance after chance, until there were no more chances left to give. Stay with me. Every part of this story matters. Welcome back to True Crime Cave, the channel where we go deep into the stories that don't make the headlines for long enough, but deserve to be remembered forever. If you are new here, welcome. The story you are about to hear involves a woman who was let down, not just by one man, but by a system that saw the warning signs and still could not protect her. It involved a teenage boy who was simply in the wrong place. And it involves a killer who, by all logic and by all law, should never have been free enough to do what he did. If you are new to this channel, this is the right time to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and comment where you are watching from. Hit the bell too. New cases drop regularly, and trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's go back into the full details of this true crime story. Precious Nicole Taste was born on February 13th, 1992, right there in Dayton, Ohio. She grew up in the city, went to Meadowdale High School, graduated in 2011, and went on to train as a state-tested nursing assistant, a nurse's aide, someone who spent her working hours taking care of other people's loved ones, someone who, by every account of everyone who knew her, was built for exactly that kind of work. Because caring came naturally to Precious, effortlessly, like breathing. Her family described it with the same words over and over again, no matter who you asked. Loving, kind, sweet, beautiful soul. Her brother Carl Thomas talked about the birthday parties she would throw for her kids. How she would fling the doors of her house wide open for the whole neighborhood. How she never asked for anything in return. How she just gave. That was her nature. She gave and gave with good intentions. At the time of her death, Precious Taste was 32 years old. She had 7 children. She was pregnant, roughly 14 to 15 weeks along. And the man she was carrying that child for? The same man she had been going back and forth with for years. The same man who had already put her in the hospital before. Not for labor, but for almost ending her life. 7 children, pregnant, 32 years old, and still trying to make it work. There is nothing strange about Precious Taste that isn't also the story of thousands of women around the world who get trapped in the same cycle. Loving someone doesn't always look the way we want it to look from the outside. Domestic violence doesn't always look like what we see in the movies. Sometimes it looks like going back, again and again, because the person hurting you is also the person your children call daddy. Because leaving feels more dangerous than staying. Because you love someone who is slowly destroying you, and you keep believing, you keep hoping, that the man you fell for is still somewhere inside the monster he's become. The relationship between Precious and the man we will soon fully introduce, Nico, was long, complicated, and laced with a history of violence that the police already had on record. As far back as 2022, Precious had already survived what should have been a fatal warning sign, which will later be revealed in court after her demise. While Precious Taste lay in the darkness of that early morning on Shaftesbury Road, there was someone else in the house. Beneath his covers, completely asleep, was a 16-year-old boy named Deontay Johnson, a young lad who had absolutely nothing to do with the conflict between Precious Taste and the man who was coming for her. He did not know Nico. He had no part in any of it. His mother explained it simply. He was just a 16-year-old boy, sleeping, at a house he felt comfortable in, on an unfortunate night that turned out to be the last night of his life. What exactly was a 16-year-old boy doing sleeping over at the home of a 32-year-old woman with 7 children? You've already thought about it, haven't you? The question is already forming. And I'll be honest with you, everybody else had this same question when this incident happened. The truth is, whatever the answer is, it has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Deontay Johnson did not deserve to die. He was 16. He was a kid. He was under a blanket, fast asleep, when a grown man pushed through a bedroom window and ended his life. The question might be interesting, but the answer doesn't change a single thing about the injustice of what happened to him. Why go after a 16-year-old that you didn't even know? That's what his mother keeps asking, out loud, in public, through her tears. She never got an answer that made any sense, because there isn't one. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. What do you think Deontay was doing at that house that night? There are no wrong answers. Let's talk about it down below. Nicole Nerome Kinnigan Jr., known to everyone on the streets of Dayton as Nico, born on May 22, 1992, the exact same date, decades later, that he would commit the worst acts of his life. Let that sit for a second. He murdered Precious Taste and Deontay Johnson on his own birthday. Nico grew up in Dayton, and by the time he was a grown man, his criminal record was not a small thing. It was not one bad decision or one moment of poor judgment that ended badly. His criminal history included felonious assault, regular assault, child endangering, abduction, weapons violations, having weapons while under disability, meaning he'd been convicted of felonies and was therefore legally banned from owning or carrying a firearm. The Dayton Police Department's own Major Brian Johns described Kinnigan publicly, and he did not mince his words. He said at one point in Kinnigan's history, the man had pointed a gun directly at police officers. He pointed a gun at police, and he still walked free. Now, I want you to think about that, not with anger, but with clear eyes, because this is the reality of how the system works. People cycle through courts, jails, and probation. They serve time, they get paroled, they come home, and the cycle starts again. For some people, the system catches them before they go too far. For others, the system runs out of time. For Precious Taste, the system ran out of time. Nico was on parole at the time he murdered Precious because of something terrible he did to her. 2 years earlier, in 2022, Precious was pregnant, and during that pregnancy, she and Nico had an argument, a disagreement about her car. He had taken it without her permission, and she told him she was going to report it stolen. His response was to walk up behind her and stab her multiple times. She described it afterwards. She said she felt him come up from behind her and jab the knife into her body. Again and again, she was pregnant. He stabbed her multiple times from behind. Precious did the right thing. She reported it. She cooperated with the investigation. She helped put him behind bars. He was convicted of felonious assault. He served time in prison, and then he was released on parole, still connected to Precious, still the father of her children, still in the orbit of her life. And at the time he murdered her, he was still on that parole, still technically under the supervision of the state, still legally prohibited from owning a firearm. The gun he used to kill Precious and Deontay, he took it from his own father. His own father's .45 caliber handgun, missing from the house the morning after the murders. His father would later testify about it in court. But here's the part that is hardest to sit with. In the weeks and days before May 22nd, 2024, Precious knew. She knew Nico had a gun. She mentioned it. She said so, in writing, in text, to someone she trusted. And in those same messages, she expressed fear. Real fear. The kind of fear that makes you type words out, because saying them out loud makes them too real. She put it down in writing that she believed Nico was capable of killing her. She saw it coming. She wrote it down, and she had no way out. The night before the murders, Nico spent hours driving around Dayton, looking for her, tracking her down. The final trigger, according to court records, was a conversation that same night. Precious told him directly that she didn't want to be with him anymore, that their relationship was over. She told him to return her car keys. She told him not to call the police. He left, and for a brief moment, maybe Precious exhaled. Maybe she thought it was over, that he was gone, that she had gotten through another one of their confrontations and come out the other side. He came back. It is not yet 6:20 in the morning on Shaftesbury Road. The neighborhood is quiet. Dayton in the early hours of a Wednesday morning. The kind of quiet that feels safe. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like the world has been put on pause. Inside Precious Taste's home, the house is asleep. Deontay Johnson, covered up, deep in sleep. Precious herself, 32 years old, 14 weeks pregnant, exhausted from life, is also trying to rest. Her 3-year-old twin daughters are in the house too. Outside, in the darkness of that quiet street, Nicole Cunningham Jr. approaches a house. He doesn't come to the front door. He doesn't knock. He goes directly to the side bedroom window. The window to the room where Deontay Johnson and Precious are sleeping. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's home captured what happened next. On that footage, you can see Nico approaching the window. Looking in, there's a brief exchange through the glass. Words through the dark. Then he steps back. He moves away from the window. For a moment, nothing happens. Then he comes back. And this time, there is something in his right hand. His father's .45 caliber handgun. He raises it toward the bedroom window. And he fires. Deontay Johnson, still under his covers, still asleep, was struck by multiple gunshots. He was killed in that bed. He never had a chance. He never had a warning. He never even opened his eyes. He was 16 years old. Nico pushes through the window and enters the house. Precious tries to run. She makes it to the staircase. She's moving, trying to get away, trying to put distance between herself and the gun. And as she runs down those stairs, she kept begging, "Please, Nico, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, no. I'm sorry." She was begging, running down the stairs of her own house, begging the father of her children not to kill her. He shot her multiple times. Precious Taste, 32 years old, mother of 7, 14 weeks pregnant, died in her own home. Her unborn son died too. Her twin daughters, 3 years old, were in that house. His daughters, while their mother was being killed. After it was done, Nico took Precious's white Chevrolet Malibu and drove away. The car was found hours later, abandoned in a ditch in Trotwood, a suburb just outside Dayton. He changed his clothes at a nearby apartment complex, and then he ran. When Dayton police arrived at Shaftesbury Road that morning at approximately 6:20 a.m., they found exactly what the 911 caller had described. 2 bodies, multiple gunshot wounds, a house full of trauma. The Montgomery County coroner confirmed the victims, Precious Taste, 32, and Deontay Johnson, 16. Autopsies confirmed Precious was approximately 14 to 15 weeks pregnant at the time of her death. 3 lives gone in a single morning. The following day, Dayton Police Major Brian John stood at a podium in front of cameras and named the suspect, Nicole Cunningham Jr. And then Major John said something that the media picked up immediately. He said he shot his longtime girlfriend, the mother of his children, who was pregnant with his child. He murdered her. So if he will do that, a warrant was issued for Cunningham's arrest. A parole violation warrant went out simultaneously. For 2 months he ran. He moved between Ohio and Indiana, reportedly making his way to Richmond, Indiana, in the days immediately after murders. Back in Dayton, the U.S. Marshal Service entered the case. They put out a $5,000 reward for information. His photograph was everywhere. 2 months. While Precious Taste's family buried her. While Jennifer Lewis buried her son. While 3-year-old twin girls tried to understand why their mother wasn't coming home, Nico was out there, free. Then came July 23rd, 2024, 2 months and 1 day after the murders. The Southern Ohio Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team tracked Cunningham to the Cleveland area. At 1:47 in the afternoon, Ohio State Highway Patrol troopers spotted a silver Chevrolet Equinox, reported stolen, linked to an armed robbery earlier that same day. Nico was behind the wheel. He ran. Again, a pursuit followed. The State Highway Patrol's aviation unit stayed on him from the sky. He abandoned the vehicle and disappeared into nearby woods on foot. Officers sealed the entire area. Teams swept through house by house, street by street. Just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Nicole Cunningham Jr. was found hiding inside an abandoned house on Osceola Avenue. He was taken into custody without incident. 2 months and 1 day. It was over. Cunningham was extradited back to Dayton and booked into Montgomery County Jail on a $1 million bond. He was indicted on a dozen charges. 4 counts of murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, involuntary manslaughter, domestic violence, tampering with evidence, unauthorized use of vehicle, and more. The trial began in August 2025, and the prosecution had a case that was, in many ways, built by Precious Taste herself. Through every text message she ever sent, every police report she ever filed, every decision she made to stay on record about who this man was. There were 50-plus pages of text messages from her phone, the surveillance footage from the neighbor's camera, the eyewitness testimony, including Precious's desperate words on that staircase, the coroner reports, the forensic evidence, and then his own father. Nico Cunningham Sr. took the stand and testified that after the murders, he noticed something missing from his home, his .45 caliber handgun. His own son had taken his own father's gun to commit the murders. The defense rested early. Nico did not take the stand. On August 8, 2025, the jury came back. Guilty, 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 guilty. 10 counts. All 10. 4 counts of murder. 2 counts of felonious assault, involuntary manslaughter, domestic violence, tampering with evidence, unauthorized use of a vehicle. 10 for 10. Not 1 count escaped. Then came sentencing. August 29th, 2025. 39 years to life in prison. With time already served, Nicole Cunningham Jr. will not be eligible for parole until the year 2063, when he will be 71 years old. His 3-year-old daughters will be in their 40s before their father can even apply for parole. At the sentencing hearing, Precious's brother Carl Thomas stood up and faced a man who had taken his sister from this world. And he said, "You took a beautiful soul." Precious Taste's mother was in that courtroom when the verdict was read, and she wept, not just with relief, with grief, because the verdict was right, but it didn't bring her daughter back. It didn't bring Deontay back. It didn't bring back the baby boy who never got the chance to be born. She said through her tears, "The kids still don't have a mother. It's been very rough." And that is the sentence that this case ends on. Not the 39 years. Not the conviction. Not the pursuit across Ohio. The sentence that this case ends on is, the kids still don't have a mother. Precious Taste got a purple balloon release outside her home on Shaftesbury Road. Family, friends, and neighbors gathered on the same street where her life was taken. To remember her, to say her name out loud, to make sure the world knew she was more than a headline, more than a case number, more than a statistic in a domestic violence report. She was a daughter, a sister, a mother, a nurse's aide who spent her days caring for strangers, a woman who threw birthday parties and opened her door to the whole neighborhood and asked for nothing back. She was 32. Deontay Johnson was 16. He had barely started, and both of them deserved so much more time. This case is about a lot of things. But at its core, it forces one question that society still has not answered well enough. How many times does a woman have to survive a man before the system decides he is dangerous enough to keep away from her? Precious survived the stabbing in 2022. She cooperated. She testified. She got a conviction. She did everything right. He still came back. He was still on parole. He still had access to her world. And the system, despite all its files and its records and its warrants, could not put itself between them in time. She saw it coming. She wrote it down. And she died anyway. That question doesn't have a comfortable answer, but it is the reason stories like this one need to be told and retold and told again until something changes. If this story moved you, if you believe Precious and Deontay deserve to be remembered, hit the like button right now. It costs you nothing, and it tells the world that these stories matter. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit the bell. We cover cases like this one regularly. Stories the news cycle forgets too quickly. And drop a comment below. Tell us what part of the story hit you the hardest. Tell us what you think the system got wrong. Tell us what you think should change. This is True Crime Cave, and we'll see you in the next one.